Hey everyone, Doug here. I've got a demonstration here I wanted to share with you. A new feature I put on my website. So this is something that was already in the works when I did my last video last week about scheduling employees and crew members, whatever. Uh, but it wasn't done. It wasn't far enough along to actually do a demonstration on. But now I've more or less finished it, so I wanted to show you guys what's going on here. And that feature is being able to track resources. So primarily aimed at doing inventory, but it can really be used for any sort of resource, whether that be a facility or a vehicle or anything, even companies that you work with or whatever. So you can keep track of those. You can now assign those to events, and then the site does things like send out checklists, equipment checklists to event organizers so that they can go through and make sure they got everything when it's time to leave. And also make sure that you're not doubling up on things. So if you had two events going on simultaneously, it won't let you schedule the same items for both events. Just make sure that you're going to be able to have all the equipment that you need at any particular event. So along with that, I had one other announcement. I had enough feedback from people about the fact that the site was US only that I decided to change that, and so I've started making changes in order to accommodate different countries around the world. I'm going to have to address that on a country-by-country basis, primarily because the local laws regarding websites change from location to location. But if you're interested in maybe pursuing using this site, please contact me and we'll talk about what changes need to be made for your local area, and I'll do what I can to get you set up with a trial so you can try the site out. So yeah, the new resources feature, I'm going to be demonstrating on a test site here. The list of equipment is actually real. I copied my own equipment inventory into here, except I left out the serial numbers for obvious reasons. But this is kind of how I have things set up, and I'll walk you guys through setting up the equipment in there and then scheduling it as part of an event. So with that said, let's jump right in. So this is actually the resource list page. So this is basically showing you the different types of different resources that are available. Right now I've got it limited to just cases. This list right here is actually totally customizable. I'll set you up with a default list, but you can customize it however you want. So add, remove, reorder, whatever you want to do. So if I want to view cameras, I just click on the view button. And then the other thing you can do here is you can basically set availability for a particular date. So if you wanted to see if a piece of gear is available for someday in the future, you put that date in here, and then over here in the status column it will let you know whether it's been reserved or whether it's available for use. So let me go ahead and click on one of these items in here. You can see the different properties that we're keeping track of, and I'll go in a little more detail and jump into the edit page. But so basically we're keeping track of a name for the item, and then manufacturer and model, what type of item it is. We'll have a place for a serial number and an asset tag, the color, the location, when it was placed in service, as well as when it was removed from service if something has been retired, a value for that piece of equipment, and then a link to a user manual if you wanted to fill that in. That user manual is actually included in the emails to go out to the crew members, and so if they have questions on how to use a piece of gear, they just go to their email that they received the day before an event, and boom, there's a link right there. They just click on that, and then they can see the instruction manual for that particular item. Now, come down here, use history. There's nothing in this list right here right now because I haven't actually created any events that use equipment on my test site. But I'll walk you through and I'll show you what that looks like. The other thing you can do here is actually schedule an item. So, for example, if we wanted to send this camera out for service, we can say service. It's not going to be assigned to a particular crew member. It's going to be from August 31st through September 15th. Oops. 2018. And we're going to say that the sensor is being cleaned. And then when I reserve that item, it shows up in this list as basically unavailable, so you can't use it. You can't schedule it during that time, so you can keep track of what's going on with any of those things. But particular items, if they have become unavailable for whatever reason. So that's kind of the view page for a particular inventory item. Now, if we want to back up and click on the edit link, it's a little bit different. This is where you can actually set all those properties. So first thing here is the resource type, and as mentioned, there's a button here to edit the list of different types that are available. You can put in a name. That name can be whatever you want. Manufacturer, model name, or number, model number, whatever. Serial number, an asset tag, color, location, the date it was placed in service, and the date it was retired from service, present value, just generic notes column, so you can stick in whatever you want there. A product manual URL, so that would jump right to the website that contains that manual, and then a container. I'll show you more about the container thing here in a minute. And then you come down below, and you can basically check off by position who on the crew would be notified that a piece of equipment is going to be used for an event. So, for example, camera operators, you probably want to have all your cameras be turned on there, so that when on the day before an event, they would get a link that says, that's basically in the email, it shows all the cameras that are going to be used for that particular event, along with the links to the manuals. And so if they need to look something up, they can do that. So I've checked a number of different positions here. In this case, this camera could potentially be used by anybody that operates in any of these particular jobs. And so, yeah, so that email that goes out, they would receive the links to that. Now, I mentioned containers a minute ago. So basically, there are certain inventory resource types, one of which is case down here. So if I click on case and I click on view, so this is basically a list of cases, for equipment cases. So whether that be like a Pelican case or a vehicle or a warehouse, whatever, well, not a warehouse, but you get the idea. So any sort of case that contains equipment. So I created a list of some of the cases that we have here, and then if we click on one of these things, we can actually see that I've defined certain items that are inside of that case. And that way, when I schedule the case, all of the items inside the case are also scheduled as well. And so the system knows, hey, when I schedule this case for August 26th or whatever, everything inside that case is also going to be scheduled and unavailable for other events and other use as well. So the system keeps track of that, and it's really easy to set that. It's like when you're actually editing the item. So let me go back to the camera. So I go edit the camera. Let me actually find one inside of a case. That'll make a little more sense. So come down here to Sony. Okay, there we go. So PXW Z150 number 6. Scroll down, and you see that's in camera case number 6. And so when I schedule the event, what I do is instead of scheduling the camera, I schedule the camera case. And the reason we do that is so that you can include other things inside the case. So if you wanted to list the power supply separately, or if you had a monitor that was inside the case that you wanted to keep track of or whatever, you can actually do that. And that way, when you schedule the case, everything that's inside the case is reserved for a particular event. So now, in terms of actually scheduling items for an event, we'll come over here to this Josh and Emily wedding that I set up in the last video. And if I click on the event name, there is a new tab over here for resources. And this shows the resources that have actually been reserved for that particular event. And if we wanted to add more, say, we know we're going to need a second camera. We've already got one camera listed there. If we want to add a second, I will come down to cases, and then I will choose camera case number 78. And then that's going to be used for the entire event, or you can say it's only going to be used for one particular date, or whatever. You can choose either one. And then I'll click on assign, and bingo, that's now in the list of items that are reserved for that particular event. And therefore, it's not available for any other event. And so, yeah, the system will let you know. This drop-down list right here actually excludes items that are reserved for other events, and so it's not even an option for the person that's making the schedule. So. Now a couple other things here. So I mentioned earlier that there's an email that goes out to crew members the day before an event to let them know what equipment they're going to be using, and they may potentially be using or setting up, and along with the links to the manuals for those items. Yeah, there's another email that goes out too, and that's to the event organizers and site administrators, and that's basically an item checklist to let them know everything that they need to bring. So That same information is also available on the home page under a new checklist tab. And so we have this list that says, for Josh and Emily's wedding on Saturday, August 25th, these are the particular pieces of equipment that you're going to need. This is not an active checkbox here, but you could print out this page, sheet of paper, walk through your inventory, make sure you got everything that you actually needed there. So, but that's kind of the resources feature in a nutshell. I'm working on doing some other features associated with this, such as like a CSV export, so you could take that information and bring it into some other system. Maybe do an import feature as well. I haven't really decided whether that's worth the time, but basically I'm trying to make this as easy to use, as fast to use, as simple to use as possible, but yet provide functionality to make sure that you have the gear that you need for particular events, that you're not double booking pieces of equipment or other resources, and that you can keep track of where your equipment is. Make sure that you always have the stuff that you need and so forth. So that's the new resources feature. If you're liking what you see here, please get in contact with me. You can go directly to my website. There's a contact page there and then a quick link to get there, djp.li/contact, and that'll go directly to the Contact Us page, and you can get me an email, send me an email from there, and I can set you up with a free trial. Pricing for the site, I've kind of set some tentative pricing, very competitive compared to other systems that do the sort of thing that this does. But in addition to the features that are already there, I'm willing to put other new features in there too. So if the site is close to your needs but not quite there, let me know, and we'll figure out a way to make it work better for your particular needs. So if you're just joining this channel for the first time, do consider subscribing. I try to produce videos about once a week about video production related topics. So anyway, I do appreciate you guys watching, and if you have questions or comments, leave those in the comment section down below. I'll try to answer as best I can. So thanks for watching, and have a fantastic day.